To celebrate making it to the Nintendo store in Tokyo, I'm gonna make a Super Mario Bros. Coin in Blender.
Okay, let's get started. I'm gonna create an image editor here on the left side so that I can have a reference photo. And I'm gonna hide my camera and my light. I'm also gonna delete my starting cube. Let's start by making a cylinder. We're going to set the vertices to 64 so we have more resolution. Enter edit mode. Scale on the X and Y axis by doing Shift Z by 6. Then go into object mode, create another cylinder. We're back into edit mode, and we're going to scale on the Z axis by 2. Then with Shift Z, we're going to do 4.5. Back into object mode, hide our second cylinder. We're going to select the first cylinder. We're going to add a Boolean modifier that does a difference with the second cylinder, and then apply it. Then we'll add a bevel modifier, and we're going to eyeball it. I did about 0.17 meters. We'll do shade smooth. And in the object data properties, we're going to set the auto normal to 30 degrees. Looking good. Let's rotate on the x-axis by 90 degrees. And now the ring is done. Next, we'll make the pillow portion of our coin. Add a UV sphere. Set the segments to 64 and the rings to 32. Then go into edit mode, and we're going to scale on the XZ axis using Shift Y by 5. We'll go up to shade smooth, and we'll turn on auto smooth. Now that pillow is ready. Time to create the inset inside of our coin. We'll create a plane. Rotate on the X axis by 90 degrees. Grab it on the Y axis by -4. Enter edit mode. Then we're going to scale on the x-axis by 0.8, scale on the z-axis by 3. Then we'll use bevel vertices. We're going to eyeball it until it feels right, using our scroll wheel to make the bevel curved. I set it so that the width was 0.21 meters, and the curved edges are 5. We're going to use this as a stencil to cut into our pillow. Let's go back to object mode, select our pillow, go into edit mode. We're going to press number 1 on the numpad to enter the XZ axis view. And then shift select our plane. We'll use knife project. Then hide the plane. We'll enter X-ray mode, hit E to extrude, and we're going to push into the pillow. Scale on Y by 0 to flatten the back of the inset. Now we'll use the Select More option, and then select Inner Loop Region to get the inset's lip. Now we can use bevel edges. Uh-oh, now there's a problem.
So you see, if you don't plan your geometry right, when you try to use the bevel modifier or the bevel tool in edit mode, things aren't going to go well.
When we use the bevel edge modifier or tool, it can only affect the faces on either side of that edge. If you try to take the bevel beyond that, it won't be able to cross the line from one face to the next. Here, I'll demonstrate. So, the cube on the right will allow me to bevel all the way up and down the entire cube. But for the cube on the left that has lots of subdivisions, I really can only bevel for the first sort of subsection of that cube. If I try to go past that, you see that the bevel geometry slides underneath. That's what's happening with the inset into our coin. So let's fix it. I'm going to undo 9 times. I'm going to get back to the point just before I did my knife project. I'm going to be in object mode, and I'm going to select that plane again. Then I'm going to do Shift D to duplicate and Escape to cancel. Now I've got 2 planes in the exact same place. I'm going to select one of those planes, and I'm going to set my mirroring to X and Z, and select one corner in edit mode. Then I'm going to grab on X and move it by 0.2, which is going to cause the whole shape to get wider. Then I'm going to grab on Z by 0.2 to make it taller. Now I have 2 shapes in the exact same place. I'll select both of them in object mode and join. Now I have one shape that has 2 stencils. Now I'm going to do my knife project again, so we're going to go back into edit mode with my pillow. Then I'm going to shift select my plane, and then I'm going to use 1 on my number pad to center my view, and then do knife project. Great! Now I have a set of geometry that I can use as my bevel. I'm going to have to change the topology though. First I'm going to hide my plane, then I'm going to create a vertex group. I'll give it a name, inset bevel 1. Then I'll click assign, and just to be sure that it's been assigned, I'm going to deselect and select it again. Then I'll hit delete and choose faces. When I select it again, it selects the loops around both sides of it here. I'm going to use Shift L when I'm hovering over the outside to deselect the outer ring. I'll make a new vertex group and call this inset inner rim. Assign, deselect, and select. Now I'm going to select my inset bevel 1 one more time, and I'll use Shift L to deselect inside, and I'll say inset outer rim. Assign, deselect, select. Then I'll select inner inset rim, and I'll choose bridge edge loops. Now I have geometry that will move the way I want it to create my own custom bevel. I'll create a new vertex group and call it inset bevel 2. Assign, deselect, select, and then deselect it, and I'm going to choose the inner rim. Then I'll select inner region, and I'm going to use grab on Y to move it back just enough to create a nice fake bevel. Then I'll use EY to extrude on the Y-axis just like I did before. Then I'm going to scale on Y by 0 to make it flat. And with that, our geometry's done. Coin's complete and looks pretty much like my reference material there. Next, I'm going to prepare my geometry to be textured. So I want to take a look at the inner part of my coin, and I notice that it doesn't have any rotation information. But when I look at the ring that I made from cylinders way back at the beginning of this, it's at 90 degrees. So I'm going to apply rotation so that it's no longer got its own separate rotation. With it selected, I'm going to hide my inner portion of the coin, apply my bevel modifier, and then add a Boolean modifier. And for the object, I'm going to add my sphere, which is the pillow of my coin, and I'm going to use union to have them join together and then apply that modifier as well. And in edit mode, you can see that makes both the ring and the pillow section all one unit. Back to object mode. Now I'm going to create a little bit more space so that I can work with my shader editor. I'm going to create a new material and call it gold coin. I'll head over to my render settings, change it to cycles. If I have GPU compute, I'm going to add that there, and then switch to rendered view. I'll turn my light back on and you'll see it's in the wrong place. I'll use 7 on my number pad to have a top view so that I can drag my light to the right location. I'm going to turn it into a sun. I'm going to create an empty arrows object. I'm going to change the name of my empty to sun target, and I'll change the name of my light to sun. I'm going to add a constraint to my light that tracks to my sun target. That sun is pretty bright, so I'm going to turn it down from 1000 to 20. Now with the light set up, we're ready to begin playing around with our materials. When we select our coin, we're going to see our principled BSDF material in the shader editor. First, I'm going to crank up metallic all the way to the top, and I'll bring roughness down to about 0.33. I want to have an input of RGB. I could change the color directly, but I want my gold color to be separate so that I can play with it later. So I'm going to bring that in place, and you can see I already have a pretty nice little gold coin. But what's missing for me is I don't have my beautiful little horizon line reflections. We can fake it by adding a sky texture. First, turn off the sun disk so that you get the vector input node to appear. Then let's add in a texture coordinate node. Connect the reflection output to the vector input on the sky texture, and then connect color straight to base color, and you can see what the reflection portion of our material will look like. Now we want to mix with a mix node our gold and our sky reflection. Put the gold in A and the sky texture in B, and let's choose multiply from the drop-down. If we crank up the factor to 1.0, it's a little too harsh, so I think I'll leave it at 50%. And there we have it. A gold coin with a nice little horizon reflection. You could take this further by putting some sort of environment map, but for a quick and dirty texture, I think this does pretty well.
And that's it. Let me know if you end up making a coin in Blender. And I'll see you next time.